Well, after a long wait, the presidential candidate of the APC, the All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has released his manifesto titled Renewed Hope, Action Plan for a Better Nigeria. Well, the manifesto was unveiled on Friday by President Muhammadu Buhari, who stated that the transition to another APC government is as vital as the 2015 victory of the party. What is striking in Mr. Tinubu's document is that there are certain promises in 2015 APC manifesto of change that have been carried over to the new documents. Well, the documents has generated mixed reactions from different quarters. Some have lauded some of the initiatives in the document, while others described it as lacking in specifics. Sheon Onigbinde, the head of the non-profit organization Bujit, tweeted that even though the documents lack details, it contains some good ideas. The Bola Ahmed Tinubu manifesto is hardly quantitative, which of course just reading through makes it hard to really understand what one expects to hold him to account for, especially on the numbers. However, I concede that there are some good ideas in the document. A full review will come, of course, with time. He tweeted, let's look at some of the promises in the document. And then we're going to be looking at the manifesto of the presidential candidate of the APC, and we'll just do a very, very quick review, even as the CEO and the publisher of Ovation, Dele Momudu, has described it as a copy and paste of the Abiola's manifesto. Well, there were quite a number of things mentioned there, and just like Onigbide said here, that it lacked details. It lacked details, and that's to, in a way, make it difficult for you to hold anyone accountable for. Okay, you said you were going to repair 5 refineries, and so now you have not been able to refine. You know those details where you are very, very careful. You do not. But then it also shows that there are repetitions in what was done in 2015, the Change Manifesto. Why are there repetitions of the same in Renewed Hope? Of course, that's the description. That's the name that was given to, that is being given to the new document, the manifesto of the APC. Well, we're going to be looking into this particular matter, but then I want us to look at it from the angle of the CEO of the Ovation, so that we have a better, since he had done a little bit of digging deep into it. So, well, let's look at it. Well, Dele Momudu, publisher of Ovation magazine, has described the manifesto of Bola Tinubu, presidential candidate of the APC, as an appropriation of MK Abiola's legacy. APC and its presidential candidate released the 80-page manifesto tagged Renew Hope 2023 on Friday. Like I mentioned earlier, the ruling party promised to solve Nigeria's security and economic problem if re-elected next year. That was a promise when they were coming in 2015, yet they were not able to do that. In fact, killings in the last 7 years and little above has been more than all that has been experienced under the PDP before they came into power. It has been alarming. Kidnapping at its peak. It's now a lucrative. They now make it a lucrative business to kidnap people. People cannot now travel from, come home from abroad and go to their houses. Nobody's trusted anymore. Insecurity at its peak. Well, thank you very much once again for joining us. This is Serious Matters on NFTV. Please note that, and when you're dropping your comment, make them simple and civil. You see, we have been on the matter of electing a credible candidate come 2023, because, like I would always say, Nigeria is on the precipice. When sometimes I think about the situation of Nigeria, I move to tears, and sometimes I weep. I'm not just moved to tears. Sometimes I weep for the situation and everything that we're going through. You know why I weep? I weep because we don't deserve what we are getting. I weep because we have what it takes to take care of the situation, yet we are not harnessing them. Well, we're harnessing them for the wrong reasons. Just take crude oil, for instance. Take crude oil. Why would more than 90% of what is being produced as a nation be stolen? And these things, crude oil, the stealing of crude oil is not. There are procedures. These things are stolen by vessels. The vessels are used to steal these things. Now, these vessels have to go through ports, waterways, and there are naval officers. There are Air Force officers taking care of those pathways. And yet these stealings go on and has been on and on and on. And it's more alarming when, salaries of people who earn millions are being paid, and yet people who earn 30,000 as minimum wage are being owed. Pensioners are being owed. Gratuities are not being paid. It becomes a thing of favor. It becomes a thing of, it's like doing the people a favor when you pay them their salary. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. Seriously. Like a retired naval officer, as I was reading in the news, a retired naval officer was talking about a particular presidential candidate, and that presidential candidate was said to have two private jets. Was a two-tenor governor, and he's been out of office for quite some time now, and yet his office or his business or his organization still remains the one collecting revenues for the state. Where do these people get the money that they spend? What business do they do? What do they do? What's their business? What do they do that they are flying jets around? Until we get to the precipice or that point where we become accountable to ourselves. We'll become accountable to ourselves. Leaders become fully accountable. ASU spent about 8 months, over 8 months. Now, they suspended the strike. They didn't call it off. They suspended it. Upon a few billions, maybe a little over 1 trillion. For the betterment of their job, to make their jobs much easier. Whereas somebody wears agbada and comes into a place and saying, those that are in support say I, and they say I. Some of them don't even say I because they are sleeping. And yet they get this allowance, they get that allowance, they get that allowance, they get this allowance, they get this allowance. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Now look at the budget of 2023. It's heavy. Now close to 30 trillion. That's terrible. And more than half of it is going to be funded with borrowed money. Borrowed money. Monies are being budgeted for clinics that are not being used. Monies are being budgeted, billions of naira are being budgeted for stationaries. Borrowed money. Further deepening the neck of the nation in indebtedness. Maybe I'll show you. I'm going to show you. Somebody, the spokesperson of the APC said Bola Ahmed Tinubu will rule Nigeria exactly the way Buhari ruled Nigeria. He's going to rule Nigeria the way Buhari ruled. And when I read it, when I saw that tweet, I said, this man is warning Nigerians against voting for the presidential candidate of the APC. Go and read that statement again. It's unfortunate. You see, God has so helped us that we are, the human hearts, where the wellspring of, reasoning, where we conjure and cook the whole matter before we speak out, is covered. And I can imagine if there was a port where, you know, a USB cable can just be plugged through, and then we can now begin to read everything on your mind on the system. It would have been very good. Then you would have seen the reason why Keyamo made that statement. You know he's doing his job. You know he's getting paid for whatever he's doing. He's getting paid. Just like sometimes you might not align, it might not be fine with you. It doesn't have to be fine with you as long as it's a job that you signed to be paid for. You've got to do it. He will have to clarify and come back and tell us why or what he meant by saying that Abiola Tinubu will rule Nigeria the way Buhari ruled it. Is this government, is it palatable? Because a few of you are enjoying yourself under the leadership of this government does not mean that, look at the number of people that are jetting out of this country at so exorbitant prices. It costs millions of naira to even japa. Well, let's talk about this manifesto, because these guys don't have anything fresh to talk about. It's only a recycling of this old wine. It's a recycling of an old wine in old wine skin. They want to pour. There is nothing new about what is being done, what is being presented to us. Me, I will now take my PVC and I go and vote for this. But God, for crying out loud. Well, that's my choice. That's my choice. No. They have nothing new. There is nothing new about. Look at the manifesto. Let's dig a little bit into it. I want us to dig a little bit into it. Maybe we should talk. Let's look at Dele Momudu's opinion first. The ruling party promised to solve Nigeria's security and economic problem if re-elected next year. Well, that they didn't solve it now. They're going to solve it next year again. After 8 years, they will now promise to solve it again. I think, Nigerians. Well, Momudu, who is the director of strategic communication of the People's Democratic Party presidential campaign, criticized the document in an article published on Sunday. In the article titled APC Renewed Hope or Fallen Hope, he said the document is filled with half-thoughts, poor reasoning, and copied notes from Abiola's Hope 93 manifesto. Abiola was the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party SDP in 1983 election. He was adjourned to have won the presidential poll before it was annulled by the then President Ibrahim Babangida, the then head of state. Momudu emphasized the difference between Abiola and Tinubu, describing the later presidential bid as a fallen hope. He described the manifesto as an insult to the sensibility and needs of Nigerians and accused the author of copy and paste. They didn't even, because there's nothing new to offer. There's nothing new to offer. Now, he said, let's look at this might be a bit long anyway. After carefully, beg your pardon. After carefully reading through the much-awaited APC presidential campaign manifesto that was released over the weekend, we cannot but conclude that the elephant has given birth to an ant. After such a long delay, what the APC presidential candidate has come up with is a series of platitude, half-thought, poor reasoning, copied notes packaged and presented as renewed hope. The APC and its presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu could not even come up with something original, something new. Renewed hope. Really? This is again another attempt by the APC candidate to appropriate Basharun MKO Abiola's legacy. It would be more statutory if we were to run on his theme instead of copying the memory of a man whose life trajectory was uncommon and whose hope for Nigeria was noble. And the APC candidate should be reminded that 1993 is far different from 2023. The Ovation publisher said the late MKO was known for industry and brilliance. Shall we ask what the APC candidate is known for? What is he known for? What job does he do? What work does he do? What's his business? Whereas MKO's Hope 93 was a genuine cause for the APC and Nigerians. It is a fallen hope. And that's the message of Bola Tinubu and the APC campaign 2023. We'll forget about the fact that this is coming from the opposition party. Because for me, both the PDP and the APC, they are the same. Yes, you say these people, they come from APC to PDP. It's just a recycle. You've seen people, you have Atiku, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic, was once in APC. And so, what are we talking about? We were once together. And so let's continue. In all honesty, the 80-page document that the APC has put together comes across as little more than an insult to the sensibility and needs of Nigeria. At a time when the country is in dire need of clear leadership with vision and courage, a new dimension of leadership, a new style of leadership, not recycled mindset, not recycled leadership. All the APC seems capable of doing is generally copying and paste, regurgitating ideas of others with nothing original or breathtaking. Asiwaju says he knows the way. With due respect, he does not. On more than one occasion, he has advertised himself as the architect of the victory of the APC in 2023. Their party slogan then was change. In 8 years, they have not been able to change anything positive. They have led Nigeria